Before you say anything, this is not the review of the 2011 movie Immortals starring Henry Cavill. What a forgotten gem that was. What is up, Netflix fans, and welcome back to my channel. I am back as promised with another Netflix review. I binge watched every episode, all 8 of the brand new TV series called Immortals, or Yasamayanlar. But I'm gonna say Immortals. If you guys don't know what this show is, it is a brand new Turkish show based around vampires on Netflix. I thought the premise was interesting. I got into the first episode slightly. We will get into all of that. I'm gonna do this review. I need you guys to get down in the comments section. Are you looking forward to this? Do you like it if you have seen it? And are you looking forward to all the other stuff I've got coming out this weekend and my review for the brand new Netflix movie Triple Frontier? But first, we're talking Yasamayanlar. So Mia, whose greatest desire is to become a human again, will go into great collaboration with young rebels in order to destroy the evil vampire, Dimitri. And that's right, y'all, we got vampires. It reminded me of how we got a story based around zombies earlier on in the year with Kingdom. I thought that was incredible, and it was also a foreign to the United States television show. This is another, and it is called Immortals. And to start off with the review, this show had some parts that I liked, had some parts that I didn't like. My biggest negative is that it takes a lot longer than you expect because it's only 8 episodes and every episode clocks in around 40 or 50 minutes long. And I know that seems semi-long, but when looking at a 22 episode order on television, or even 10 episodes when you look at what Netflix has been doing with their sci-fi-esque shows, it feels like a very lengthy show, and I chalk a lot of that up to the pacing. It moves at a pace that I think is a lot slower than a show like this warrants, especially when you have all of this stuff, and I may add some really good stuff in here that really works for the show, and the pacing really starts to diminish what is actually happening on screen. It also takes a while to get into the characters. For me, I did not start to respond or even gravitate towards them until like the 3rd episode. That's when you really begin to figure out, because like I said, there's a lot that goes on here. There are different sides fighting each other. You have the humans, you have the vampires, you have the different sector of vampires, people going behind each other's backs. It's a lot, and it takes a bit to get invested in everything because they do try to put a lot of lore within this show. That's one thing I can say as a positive. It doesn't just go down the route that you see a typical vampire show or movie going down. They establish many things that you have to pay attention to. If you are not paying attention by like episode 4 or 5, you're not going to understand who is the good guy, who is the bad guy, even though there is no clear-cut hero or villain here. Now, if you write this show off as a horrible vampire thriller that you have seen before, then I'm not going to blame you. And like I said, I had problems with the pacing and how slow it moves, but there is quite a bit in here to like, and I want to hit on my positives here for just a second because I feel like I've been very negative. I don't like being that guy. A lot of great characters in this show. The heroes are given a dark side, and even the villains, even though there is one particular villain that you just hate. You don't like the guy, but some of them, they get these aspects of their characters, and you're like, oh, okay, I can see how they could be good, and I like that. That's giving a character depth. That's something you rarely see in a show like this, and I appreciate the fact that the filmmakers went in that direction. You can at times be rooting for someone, and you don't know why you're rooting for them because they go off and do something bad as well, but that's the tragedy within a character. Once again, it's something that I like. Oh, and quickly, before I forget, you guys probably know this, but there are 2 ways to go about watching this show. There is the subbed, and there's the dubbed, and I've heard it pronounced both ways. It's Maya or Mia. I'm gonna say Mia. But the simple premise of this show, and it's literally the first scene in the first episode, so this isn't a spoiler, she is out to get the person who turns her into a vampire, and that vampire is Dimitri. Now, that's just where we begin. There are a lot of plot elements that I don't want to spoil, and surprises in there that if you get into this show and you're enjoying it through the first 2 episodes, you may not be loving it, but I encourage you to give it a chance because it does get better. And when I say better, I mean you get this trust built up between certain characters. There are infiltrations into other groups of people, and at one point, a literal war, and this is in the summary, so once again, not a spoiler, a war is breaking out between many different types of people, and it's exciting to see how they go about that, who's on what side, and why they're choosing their respective side. So yes, I didn't anticipate it getting this epic, and the show also has its fair share of casualties and blood and gore and just really intense violence. If you like that kind of thing, then there are many elements, some in particular, that are really sticking in my mind, and I'm like, oh gosh, you know when you get really cringed out while you're watching something? That's how I felt watching a few of these scenes. But if you like that kind of thing, then you're really going to enjoy it. The set design and the production design in general is really good, but I can't help but to feel a sense of familiarity there, especially within the costumes and just the entire look of the show. It has a Blade-esque feel at times. It's very dark and dimly lit, and it did take me a bit to get adjusted to because for one, I like either a lot of color or a very stylistic approach. This show is not very colorful. Now, at times you get your neons and certain characters are very colorful, but the overall aesthetic of the show is just very dark and dim, and that's honestly not my kind of thing, so that's another thing that I can put as a detriment on this show, but I will also chalk it up as being something personal, and not everyone is going to feel that way. And even though it has its fair share of differences, and it does try, I can give the filmmakers and the people in front of the screen credit because the acting is pretty solid. There are a few characters in there that I didn't love, but that's my big issue with the show. They don't make it predictable from a plot standpoint, but they do make it familiar. I needed more for this show to stand out. It is a tired genre, and unless you're going to do something that thoroughly grips me for 8 episodes, then it's hard for me, or really anyone else watching, to love a show like this when it is just so familiar and you've seen things like it. Probably things with a bit better acting, a bit better look and feel to the entire show. And for me, those negatives are really going to bring a show like this down. Now, I liked how it attempted to breathe new life into the genre, but it's slow. The second half gets immensely better, but you still have to deal with and handle that first half and try your hardest to kind of slug through it, and I hate to put it in those terms. Again, guys, and I know I do this with television more often than I should, but I'm going to be a bit more lenient when I'm giving my score because there are things in here to like. It's just a show that is very slow, and because of all of those things, I'm going to barely crack fresh with this score and give it a 6 out of 10. It's an okay show to me. I feel like a lot of people are going to love it. Others, not so much. Tell me what side of the fence you guys are on in the comments section down below. I feel like I'm always more lenient with television because you have a longer period of time to relate to the characters and get invested with the story. And that's honestly why you guys are seeing me give higher scores to television shows than movies, just because you have a longer period of time to get invested. And it's really hard to completely botch a show, even though I've seen it before. Some of you guys may think Immortals is a botch show. For me, I think it's okay. There are positives and negatives alike, but like I said, get down in the comments section. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. A lot of Netflix content to come this weekend especially, and a bunch of theatrical releases that I cannot wait to review for you guys. One special one on Wednesday, an early screening. I rarely get those. You guys are the absolute best. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I will catch you later.